Okay guys, good evening and welcome back. Alright, so in this video I want to show us how to sew our suit trouser. Here I have the back panel. Now remember, the back panel was added 3 inches at the back waist, so I have to fold quarter inch this way. Now this is just going to serve us as our piping or bias, right? So just fold in this form, fold quarter inch. It's advisable to use iron first to fold, right? So you fold quarter inch twice this way so that you will not need to weave or do whatsoever. So after the folding, now the next I am doing is to place my dart. Now the dart is measured 5 inches from the side straight line, 5 inches in, and then 3.5 inches deep, just like our normal trouser swell, right? So after that, now the next thing to do here is to mark the pocket width and know where to do your pocketing, your welt pocket. Now I have already done the dart on both panels, so I'm trying to fix the front block or the front pocket for the trouser. So just cut the pocketing 14 by 14, then place as shown, right? Now thread on the straight line first, the edge where you use hemming gum to, where you use gum stain, sorry, to gum. Then after that, you are going to slash out the lining underneath. So you're going to slash out the lining here, slash it out. I think it's still the same process with the other method we have been using in our normal trouser sewing. Then at this edge, you are going to fold, or better still, you can weave if you can weave this. But if you can't weave, you can still fold it all through that way. Make sure the folding is properly done, right? So fold all through that way. You're just fixing the front pocket now, then thread all through that way, and then still do the same thing on the other side. And after which you're going to thread here by quarter of an inch, right? Quarter inch, right? So I'm just trying to show you how I am threading the both pockets. Be in mind, I am doing the both of them at once. So thread all through that way. Then after that, now the next to do now is to fix our pocket facing, right? Pocket facing with the width is 4 inches width by the depth of 10 to 11 inches. Then fold the edge of that pocket facing and thread on the pocketing, and then replace here by 2.5. Then after that, thread on top this way at the tip of the waist part of the trouser, then cut off the excesses. Cut off your excesses at the up area, cut it out this way. Make sure your hands are straight in that same direction that the waistline was sloped, right? Then after that, the next thing to do here is to bring the pocket in from here this way, and then thread from this direction, thread like half an inch all through that way, and then curve to your taste or to your choice, right? Give it any shape of your choice, then cut off the excesses. Cut off the excesses. Now remember that lining will cover this, so you might not need to turn it in any other way around. Then you put your hand inside, and then you try to see how deep it is, right? Then after you have done this, then you also do the same thing on the other pocket as well, right? So do the same thing on other pocket as well. So still sew all through that way. So at this point, I am trying to um, fix my lining, right? Fix my lining on the trouser. So once you are done with the pocket, the next thing to do is to fix your lining. So you fix the lining as shown. Fix as shown. And then trim off the excesses if there is any, right? So once it's trimmed out, the next to do as well is to do the same thing on the other pocket as well, right? Remember, we have our lining already cut, which is still the same measurement we have, on the other trousers, but you can still make the lining can be a bit bigger than the trouser, let's say 2 inches bigger, so that when after stitching you can now iron to have that pleating at the center part of the trouser, right, so that it doesn't compress or contract the trouser. Look at how you see how this one will give us that pleating effect at the middle, right? So it was a bit bigger, so just pleat at the middle. Only the lining is what you are going to pleat, and not alongside the main trouser. Only pleat the lining, right? So now after this, now you pleat that way, and then you sew. You sew, then make sure the pleating is done at the middle, right? Don't make the pleating to come at the sides or at the zip area. It must be at the middle. Then you sew all through that way. So do the same thing as well on the other parts of the trouser as well. So make sure the pleating is done properly at the middle of the trouser, right? So after the pleating now, the next to do is to cut your threads, like I do tell us to cut our threads. So at this point, now the next to do is to fix your zip. So you trim off the excesses or whatsoever you have there, trim them off, and then trim them off. Make sure the notching is not trimmed off. Then after this, you pick the right panel this way. The notching must be done properly. Then I'm also trying to fix the other pocket facing of the second trouser. In case you don't understand this, you can use this one to get it cleared or clearer, right? Then I've just tried to hasten up so that the video will not be too long. So you also do the same process you did on the first pocket, right? So now here is just for you to curve in by half an inch, curve it in by half an inch this way. Just curve it in that way. This is one of the simplest ways you can do your English trouser. It still comes out fine, right? That's the same method as the one we do initially. For some of us who might have watched my other videos. Now for the zip fly, now you pick one of the flap, right? So you thread the zip at this point. Just watch how it was placed up. So thread the zip at this edge, right? Please watch carefully how this one is being done. Then cut your threads as well. Then trim out the excesses if there is any excesses there. Then once it's properly trimmed out, now the next to do as well is to reduce the flap length a bit. It should be around maybe 1 inch longer than the zip or thereabout. Then also trim the sides, maybe 2.5 inch wider than the zip or after the zip. Make sure the trimming is done nicely. So after this, next you do now is you have to pick the right panel of this trouser. Please note, you have to pick the right panel of the trouser, face that zip on the notched part, right? Now start from the notching. That notch part you notch, the notching was done at 7 inches or 7.25 or 7.5, depending on your customer's crouch depth, right? Now pick the right panel, then start from the notch part, and then you thread this zip all through. You thread this zip all through, right? So after this, now you see how it came out, right? Now the next to do now is to bring your the other flap. I will show you how it's going to be fixed. Then you bring the other flap, trying to make sure that the zip is properly positioned and making sure that everything is in line. So you bring the other flap this way. Now this one, you have to gum it, right? So you have to gum it already. For some of us who might have idea on how to make an English trouser, so trim all through that way. So I kind of gone a bit lesser, right? So that I will get to the exact point that I want the trimming to be. So trim all through that way. And then after you must have done that trimming, then you place that flap on the left panel of the trouser, making the flap to be 2 inches or 1.5 inch longer than the main trouser. Please note, you see how I placed it, right? The flap will be placed on the left panel of the trouser. So place that other one that way, and then thread. You thread it all through, and then after that, trim it off a bit as well. Then cut your threads all through that way, and then look at how it's bent up through. So you fold it backwards this way. So making sure that the 1/4 inch is what you use to join the flap, right? Make sure it's quarter of an inch. It shouldn't be more than that. Then after you have bent it that way, you can iron, or after which you thread. Now bear in mind that the top stitching is done on the flap and not on the main trouser. The top stitching is done on the flap because that inch of joining was folded towards the flap and not towards the trouser. So you have to top stitch it towards the flap, right? Then after that, you also cut your threads. Then you now get the other right panel which had the zip already fixed on it. Then try to mirror the faces. The right face will mirror each other, right? So you place it that way, and then make sure that the length of the trouser waist are equal, right? Your target is the main trouser panels and not the flap. So once the trouser lengths are equal, or the height, the heights are equal there, so you make sure that the zip is balanced and the zip is not rumpled, right? Then before you do anything, you need to hold the crouch area. You need to make sure that the panels are corresponding at that point, right? Make sure it's corresponding properly. So once the panels at the crouch are corresponding, then you need to thread from there. That point that the notching started is where I am threading from. Then hold the panels. They must correspond, please. The crouch must correspond. Then start from there. The notching stopped. Then you thread. Make sure you double stitch, right? You make sure you double stitch properly. Then thread and go 1/2 inch off, and sew it all through that way. Making sure that it's properly done. Then if you notice, I did not lock all through the end. I locked 1 inch or 1/4 inch off from the main trouser, right? And then I have to double thread it again, right? So after that, now the next to do now is to do our welt pocket, right? Our welt pocket, this is where most of us do have issues or have challenges on how to do welt pocket. So if you follow this method you are seeing here, you will no longer have such issues. Then bear in mind that we have already marked out the width, which we have to be 5 inches, right? 5 inches or 5.5, depending on your customer's size. So I had to place my pocketing underneath, and then I will now measure, right? So this is 5.5 for pocket opening. It all depends on the customer's size though. Then I had to iron out the sides where the marking is done. This ironing helps me to reduce the choking. So now the placket was cut at 3.5 or 3 inches width by 7.5 inch width length, right? Then I'm placing it on that line I marked. Then I am threading 1/4 of an inch off. Make sure that the threading is on top of that line, right? I am already targeting the line where the pocket mouth was made to stay. So I am stitching here quarter of an inch, and then making sure that you don't exceed the 5.5 inches pocket width which you have already programmed to have. So after you must have sewn that line, then you have to open it up this way. Bear in mind that the placket was folded and the folding was facing down, where the edge of the folding was facing at the rear front or the real part of the trouser. Then I had to raise this folding up, and then I insert my placket, the other placket which was not folded. I just inserted it right underneath where the first placket was done. Then I am threading quarter of an inch as well on that edge and making sure that it doesn't exceed where I have my pocket width marked out to be. Then once you are done with that, now you notice or you will see how I will notch it.